Welcome to the Shield database. Please enter your access code. Welcome, Agent. Daredevil's ongoing series have given hundreds of hours of entertainment and thought-provoking stories to their many fans. However, occasionally a writer chooses to work on the character in order to tell one succinct story rather than to spend years with him. Often this is because they have one story in mind which they want to tell, and stretching it out would do it a disservice. As such, many of the miniseries starring the Man Without Fear are driven by creativity and are as long or short as they need to be. Naturally, this results in incredible storytelling showcasing what each writer thinks encapsulates the character. The stories can vary from emotional character pieces to flat-out action, but always manage to create a powerful experience for the reader. Here are 10 miniseries which show the Man Without Fear at his best. Spoilers ahead. Ninja is far from Brian Michael Bendis's best work. The story revolves around the staff of Matt's late mentor stick being stolen and Daredevil beginning a quest to get it back. There is little substance here, particularly for a Daredevil book, but as a quick read it is perfectly serviceable. The story, however, is not where this series' charm lies. The charm, along with the excitement and the intensity, can be found entirely in the beautiful artwork by Rob Haynes, who manages to elevate this book from a bland meandering story to a book that is worthy of sitting on the shelf next to anything else Daredevil has to offer. The images are cinematic in the way they depict the story, particularly fight scenes, and its intentional simplicity hints towards an anime influence which complements the story's themes. Father is a tense thriller written by Marvel legend Joe Quesada. It features Daredevil on the hunt for a serial killer in New York during a heat wave which has everyone on edge. Quesada pulls double duty on this issue, as he is also responsible for the intense artwork which succeeds through its lack of subtlety and makes the characters just exaggerated enough to look unsettling but not silly. This book can lose itself in the amount of story it attempts to feed the reader, however, as characters such as the Sanitarians prove incidental and achieve nothing more than taking away from the real meat of the story. Quesada often meanders as he attempts to throw false leads at Daredevil in his hunt for the killer, but the book redeems itself with a last-second twist that, while audacious, is nonetheless enthralling. Daredevil Dark Nights is a miniseries in the loosest of terms. While it is one 8-issue run, it features 3 stories. The first of which contrasts well with the previously discussed Father miniseries. Where in that story Daredevil was struggling to stop a killer during a heat wave, this one features Daredevil attempting to save a young girl during a snowstorm. Easily the best story of the 3. It sees Daredevil with a severe concussion attempting to get a donor heart to a hospital before it's too late, all the while helping others in need along the way. This story is well worth a read for anyone wanting to truly understand the sheer amount of will the hero has at his disposal. However, the next 2 stories fall slightly flatter, and the entire miniseries is held up by this initial yet absorbing tale of man versus the elements. Man Without Fear was released at the beginning of 2019 and marked a short hiatus in the main Daredevil book after the departure of Charles Soule. Soule's work on the series came to an explosive end, with Matt being hit by a truck and the Kingpin becoming the mayor of New York City. This series picks up with a broken Matt in a hospital room, having given up on being Daredevil as he is too physically and psychologically damaged to continue. Each issue focuses on a different one of Matt's relationships, and throughout the series Matt is able to find the strength to recover everything he has lost. This series is notable for showing us a side of Daredevil unfamiliar to most, a Daredevil who has given up the fight. It then goes on to remind us that as long as Matt has the likes of Foggy Nelson by his side, he will always be able to get back up for one more round. Reborn shows a shamed Daredevil whose reputation is destroyed after the events of Shadowland. Having let himself become weak enough to be brought over to the dark side, Daredevil has left New York and finds himself in a corrupt New Mexico town. Without his friends or neighborhood, it's not at first clear if Matt is able to summon the strength to become a hero again, but as the book progresses we see more and more that the Matt we know and love is still in there. The plot is mostly incidental and acts as a paint-by-numbers story whose function is to take the shame-filled former supervillain, Matt Murdock, and return him to his status quo as Daredevil, the hero of Hell's Kitchen. In this goal the story succeeds and does so in style. However, there seems to be a lot of potential from a Daredevil Western story which was not reached here. Daredevil Noir had the unenviable task of taking Marvel's most noir hero and making him even more noir. It achieves this by setting the story in the 1930s and grounding it slightly more in reality than a typical superhero story. The series is notable for its reimagining of the relationships we have come to know, and through this the book is able to throw a number of hugely surprising twists which make the book one of the most engrossing on this list. The art is a perfect mix of what you expect of a superhero story and what you expect of a crime noir, and it goes a long way towards crafting this brutal world which can make a reader uncomfortable while ensuring they can never look away. If you have ever wanted to see the likes of Matt Murdock, Foggy Nelson, the Kingpin and the Bullseye Killer in a captivating new light, then follow Alexander Irvin into the dark. Daredevil Yellow focuses on Matt Murdock's early days as a crime fighter. The book retells many of the campy stories which make up the early issues of the series as Matt looks back on his relationship with the recently departed Karen Page. We see a brief origin story before revisiting Daredevil's early meetings with the Fantastic Four and the first time he tangled with the likes of the Owl and the Purple Man. The series is framed around Daredevil writing a letter to his late girlfriend and remembering when his life was less painful and more lighthearted. This is effective as it not only recognizes the silliness of his early comic books but provides a satisfying contrast when comparing them to his more modern appearances. We see a Daredevil who revels in being a hero rather than broods over it. We see the beginnings of a romance between the two main characters with neither yet knowing the horrors that await them, and we see an all-around happier story which acts as a palate cleanser after Kevin Smith's brilliant but tragic run on the main series. End of Days opens with the final moments of Matt Murdock's life as he finally loses a battle to Bullseye. With his final breath he whispers the word Mapoon, and Benurick begins a quest to uncover the meaning of the word by visiting all of the major figures in Matt's life and understanding how they affected the man without fear. Ben proves to be an enthralling protagonist, and his vulnerability only adds to the tension as more and more is uncovered about Daredevil's final days. This book fleshes out an already well-fleshed-out character and provides the reader with plenty of inner monologues from a hard-nosed grizzled reporter that are a joy to read. The book evokes the days of Frank Miller as it shows us a world with very little hope left in it, and this is accented by the perfect pairing of Bendis and Mack with Klaus Janson, whose artwork drives home the bleakness of a world without Daredevil. After a young boy is found murdered in the small town of Redemption Valley, a woman heads to New York to recruit Matt Murdock to defend her son, who she believes is the victim of a witch hunt, to catch the killer. This story leans heavily into the lawyer side of Matt Murdock, who believes that the boy he is defending is innocent of the crime and is facing the death penalty should Matt lose the case. The story does not shy away from Matt's double life, however, and Daredevil comes into play throughout, leading to a deep analysis of Matt's life as a lawyer contrasting with his life as a vigilante. These two contrasting sides of the character have never been better explored than they are here, and the heartbreaking story proves to be as thought-provoking as it is emotionally tragic. Throughout we see the flaws in the U.S. legal system, the madness of the emotional close-minded townspeople, and the evil that hides within seemingly normal men. Not only the greatest miniseries with Daredevil's name on the cover, but also one of his greatest stories to date. The series acts as a soft reboot to Daredevil's origin story and details much of what occurred between a young Matt gaining superpowers and first donning the classic Daredevil costume. The gritty tone Daredevil became known for and the Kingpin being a part of Matt's early hero career are retroactively added in here, but both additions are so smooth many readers will be unable to remember a time in which these two elements were not integral to the Daredevil mythos. Alongside everything else, we get to experience Matt's early relationships with Stick and Elektra and fully understand just how important his father was in crafting the Man Without Fear. This story has every element a Daredevil fan could want, all of which are lovingly sewn together by Frank Miller, almost inarguably the greatest writer to ever craft a Daredevil story.